All right, students, welcome this week. We are going to be starting on part two. One thing I've done differently in part two is I've added a PDF here that you guys can download and print if you would like. I know some people find it easier to have a sheet of paper that they're looking at if you're able to print it. If not, you're able to also toggle back and forth, but thought I'd throw that as an option. And like before, here's a link to the drawing. So when we open this up, we are going to start our build. And here's what we're going to be building. Here I'll give you a look at the part fully completed, right? And then here's the drawing. Once again, if you want to print that PDF off, you are more than welcome to. And let's get started on that. No, so let's come in here and create document part two. Create that document. And before we get into it, let's come here and check our workspace units, making sure we're in millimeters and grams. And we're going to display out to 2 decimal places here for our final mass. So if you make those changes, you're good to go. So let's get started. So we're going to start, and why isn't that working? Okay, so as we start, we're going to start right here in this build. So let's come here and we're going to sketch on the top plane and select the top corner rectangle. I'm going to drag that out and turn on our dimensioning tool. And we're going to dimension this side out to 200. And this side we're going to dimension to 150. Now if we click on top here again, it will center this for us so we can kind of see what's going on. From there we're going to have a circle here in the center, just like on the sketch. To do that, once again, we're going to highlight this side and come down here, highlight the center, come here into the center, and it will lock us into that center. And then from there, we're going to turn our dimensioning tool back on, and we're going to dimension that out to a depth of 50. And from there, we'll accept this sketch. So we're going to come in here and tell it we want to extrude it. Now, because we have 2 shapes here, it will automatically not be extruding the center of that, which is fine. That's what we want. And we want to take this to a depth of 30. And we can accept that. So right here, from the top plane, we're starting with that main block. Now we have some cuts we're going to make here on this side. So let's turn it over here onto our front plane. And we can come here to sketch. It's going to ask us what plane we like to sketch on. And we're going to select that plane. And the first thing we're going to do is start with this little cut right here that goes through. Turning on our smart dimensioning tool. And I'm clicking on 2 lines here. I'm going to click on this line, and then I'm going to come over and click on this line. Tell that to be 15. And we want the depth, so we want from that line to that line to be a depth of 15 as well. And looking at our picture, we only have this blue line left, and it's asking how wide we want to make this little gap, and we want it to be depth of 3. So from there, we are going to extrude, and we aren't going to add, we want to remove. Okay, so we're going to remove, and we are going to go, for this, we're going to go through all. So it'll take that little cut and take it all the way through. and we can accept that. So now we need to make the next cut, right? That is going to kind of go right through this hole. So once again, we're going to face it to the front. We're going to sketch on this front plane and corner rectangle. And we're just going to kind of lock it in right like so and start looking at our dimensions. So this is going to once again be a depth of 15. And from this line here, right over to this line here, it's going to be 57. And this is going to be a depth of 50. Or excuse me, that's going to be a width of 50. And that 50 should be the same width of 50 of the diameter of this circle. So as we come over here to extrude, because now everything is in black, we come here to extrude and we're going to remove. Once again, we're going to go through all and accept that. And sure enough, that hits right on the edges of our circle. So that's good. So the last cut we need to make is called a dovetail cut. A dovetail cut is going to come down here with some angles. So we're going to sketch, and once again it's going to ask us what plane we want to sketch on. So I'm going to kind of scroll in over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this mirror feature for this cut because it does have some angles in it, and those angles can be a little difficult. So let's play around with this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out where this is going to lie. So in here, I will add some dimensions in here for you. So we need this dimension here, which is going to be a dimension of 20. And we'll need this base here, which will be 37.32. So those are the two dimensions that we're really going to need for that. So as we come back in here to the build, we're going to need one more dimension now that I say that, and that dimension is going to be from the center of this. We need something to get our depth off of that, so that's going to be 30 right here. So knowing that this is going to be 30 off and that opening gap is going to be 20, we're going to put in a line here. We're going to drop a line. Now, we don't want to lock it into this center, okay? We don't want to lock that on there because we want this line to be able to move. So make sure you're not locking it onto this center. And you can come over here and we're going to take this line, double click in now. We're going to right click on this line and we are going to take this line and we're going to want to make it a line for construction. So sorry, cutting that line out. Deselect that trim tool, take this line, and when I get out of the line I can come back into it and I'm turning that line on for construction. Now, when a line for construction means, that line isn't actually going to be extruded, it's just a frame of reference. So now that we have our dimension tool turned on, let's take this line and make it at the depth of 15, so we know it's going to be 15. And we're going to dimension this line from here to here. And so I know I need my depth of 30 coming from here to here, plus this 20. And so I want to put that line right here in half. So 30 plus half of 20 It's going to be 40. So this is going to be a depth of 40, or excuse me, a width of 40, and we will take that. So from here, all we need to do now is sketch out half of our trapezoid, and so now that we have half our trapezoid, we can kind of clean it up. We're going to turn our line tool off. I'm going to take this line here, and this line is not flat, right? This is at a slight angle. So I'm going to select these lines right here. And what you can do is select this line, and I want to take this line and I wanted to tell it to be horizontal, right? So it's lying flat. So now as I take this dimension tool on, I know I need the top of this to be 10, right? Because we're going to take these and we're going to mirror it over this side. And I know this angle needs to be 60. So we're going to set that angle at 60. And really, when I set that angle at 60, we don't need this bottom dimension here, because this bottom dimension can only be one thing, right? And that's this 18.66, right? Which is going to be half, right? If we try and change this, right, and turn it to 18, excuse me. If we try and change this to anything, right, it really won't let us, because what it's saying is it's telling it that's impossible. This can only be one thing. So if we turn it to 18, it's saying the sketch has just become impossible to solve. So this bottom line, it can only be that number of the number that it gives you, which is that 18 with some decimal places, right? So we really just need this top part and this angle, okay? So we'll accept that. Now what we need to do is use this mirror feature, and it's asking us to select a line to mirror. So we want to mirror everything over this line. Now it's asking, what do we want to mirror? So we want to mirror this top line, this side line, and this line, okay? And then once we click off of mirror, now that sketch is now on both sides, and we can come in here, and again we're going to remove, and a lot of times when we remove, if we kind of scroll out, it's easier to see what we're actually removing, and we can go through all and accept that. So now we should have everything looking very similar to what we do in the picture. Now just over on this end, on this right side, we need to add a plug that comes out. So to do that, we're going to come in here to sketch, select the sketch plane, and we want that circle right in the center. So once again, we're going to come in here, highlight this side, come down here, lock that in the center, come here to our smart dimension, and that is coming out to diameter of 20, and then we are going to extrude. Once again, we can come off this a little bit and see how far of a depth we're extruding that out to. Extruding that out to depth of 20. Enter and accept. All right, so now we've built out our part. Now it is time to select our part and assign a material. We're going to do the 1060 again. 1060 aluminum. Accept it. And now From there, have our part. Let's check our mass. Our mass on here is, excuse me, 1,871.36 grams. And so we can go in here to our drawing that is in Schoology. Double check the mass at the bottom of this. And right here, again, we're at the 1,871.86 grams. So our part 2 is built out correctly. And from there, all we need to do is turn it in. Again, grab that shareable link and turn it into Schoology, where you're turning in part 2. All right, good luck. I know this week the build gets a little bit more complicated than what we've been doing. Throwing some angles in here. I know some of where I'm clicking on this can be a little confusing sometimes. But that's what the video is for. So go ahead, go back, and you can rewind it and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.